Well, let's talk about Cynthia. There are many reports that talks about the influence of the Israeli lobby, AIPAC, on United States politics in general. Did you experience anything in that realm as far as what one would call the interference in American policy by AIPAC?
Well, it's interesting because when I first went to Congress, I did not go to Congress to pay particular attention to any area outside of the black community that I represented that was in need, and of course U.S. Africa policy, which was abhorrent and unfortunately still is. But what I bumped into at almost every turn were these special interests. And there's no more special interest that has any more influence than the pro-Israel lobby. And there's no more special interest that has any more influence than the pro-Israel lobby. And so then when I did outreach, for example, to the Muslim community in the United States, I bumped into the pro-Israel lobby, which of course does not want to have to contend with a politicized Muslim community, which is as large as and is as wealthy as the pro-Israel lobby is in the United States. So yes, I first-handedly and also frontally was assaulted by the presence of the pro-Israel lobby to such an extent.
Physically assaulted?
Well, politically assaulted.
Okay.
To such an extent that my father had to ask the question publicly, what does Stone Mountain, Georgia have to do with Israel? What I was doing was servicing the needs of my constituents. And I was not allowed to do that because I did not toe the line on U.S. policy for Israel.
What line is that they wanted? Were you told directly that you had to toe a line, or explain that to me?
Well, every candidate for Congress at that time had a pledge. They were given a pledge to sign. And I was new on the scene. And so the pledge had Jerusalem as the capital city, the military superiority of Israel. The pledge had Jerusalem as the capital city, the military superiority of Israel.
American Congress people have to sign this pledge?
Yes.
American Congress people have to sign this pledge?
Yes.
American Congress people have to sign this pledge?
Yes. You sign the pledge. If you don't sign the pledge, you don't get money. If you don't sign the pledge, you don't get money. If you don't sign the pledge, you don't get money. So, for example, it was almost like water torture for me. My parents observed this. I would get a call, and the person on the other end of the phone would say, I want to do a fundraiser for you. And then we would get into the planning. I would get really excited because, of course, you have to have money in order to run a campaign.
Why is Congress a millionaire's club? The evidence is clear. Americans overwhelmingly disapprove of Congress and don't believe their representatives share their priorities. There's plenty of room for debate over whether Congress shares voters' priorities on political and policy issues. But when it comes to personal priorities, at least, voters have good reason to be skeptical of Congress. Most members of Congress simply don't share in the average American experience. National unemployment has lingered above 8% for longer than 28 straight months. Congress, meanwhile, is a club that consists of 245 millionaires. Based on 2009 data, there are currently 66 in the Senate and 179 in the House, among current voting members. So while just 1% of Americans are millionaires, 66% of senators are millionaires, as are 41% of House members. See link in description box for article.
Of course, you have to have money in order to run a campaign. And then 2 weeks, 3 weeks into the planning, they would say, "Did you sign the pledge?" And then I would say, "No, I didn't sign the pledge." And then my fundraiser would go kaput. And then I would say, "No, I didn't sign the pledge." And then my fundraiser would go kaput.
So, I just want to get into this pledge a little bit more. So this is basically something that is mandatory, that every congressperson has to sign, saying that, Jerusalem, you said, is the capital of Israel, and what else?
You make a commitment that you will vote to support the military superiority of Israel, that the economic assistance that Israel wants, that you would vote to provide that.
U.S. News. October 10, 2023. How much aid does the U.S. give to Israel? The United States has given Israel more aid than any other nation since World War II, granting it more than $260 billion. Next article. USA Facts. How much aid does the U.S. give to Israel? Israel has received more foreign aid from the U.S. than any other country since World War II. Updated on October 12, 2023 by USA Facts team. How much aid does the U.S. give to Israel? The United States committed over $3.3 billion in foreign assistance to Israel in 2022, the most recent year for which data exists. About $8.8 million of that went toward the country's economy, while 99.7% of the aid went to the Israeli military.
This isn't a question for the congresspeople serving, that they are representing, or they're supposed to be representing, the people of the United States, not a foreign country, and yet they have to pledge allegiance to a foreign state.
That's what
no one questions this.
That's what I was asked to do.
And yet they have to pledge allegiance to a foreign state.
That's what
no one questions this.
That's what I was asked to do. And I made it public. This probably nobody had said anything about it, but I made it public, and then, the excuse was, those were just overzealous advocates for Israel. So then the tactic changed, and but this is what is done for 535 members of the United States Congress. 100 senators, 435 members of the House of Representatives have to now write a paragraph, which basically says the same thing. 100 senators, 435 members of the House of Representatives have to now write a paragraph, which basically says the same thing. So it's not a pledge, but it's a paragraph, and you post it, and you post it, and you post it, and, there are these forums you have to go to at the synagogues or whatever. These forums you have to go to at the synagogues or whatever. These forums you have to go to at the synagogues or whatever. And then, if you don't perform appropriately, then you don't get money to run your campaign. If you don't perform appropriately, then you don't get money to run your campaign. If you don't perform appropriately, then you don't get money to run your campaign. The problem is that it requires an awful lot of money to run a campaign. And whether it's a woman's organization, an environmental organization, people can read about this on the internet if they're interested. If you go to thomas.loc.gov, that is the official United States Congress website. And if you put in the name Gus Savage, because Gus Savage was a black member of Congress who was targeted by the pro-Israel lobby, And he had the foresight to use his position as an incumbent in the House of Representatives to put his experience on the congressional record. For the entire existence of the United States Congress now, people will be able to access his experience. And what he wrote was that it was the Garden Club of New Jersey that gave his opponent $5,000. But it wasn't really the Garden Club of New Jersey. It was the activists who were associated with AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee.
Wow. Unbelievable, but we're almost out of time, so I just want to get into a little bit of your personal experience now and what you're planning. So you had told me earlier that you were basically, you did not win the last election, or basically it was because of the Zionist lobby, from what I understood, that basically forced you or not allowed you to get reelected. Now you have future plans, though, to try to run again. Tell me about it and tell me why you think that it will make a difference.
Well, I have, because of the notoriety about me telling my story, and then, of course, the public positions that I've taken supporting the human rights aspirations, the legitimate rights and the aspirations of the Palestinian people, I have a target on my forehead. And that then means that every means that is available to the pro-Israel lobby will be utilized to make sure that I do not ever occupy a position of authority. Now, fortunately for me, there is a very large peace community that is interested in change, and they would like to have a tested, experienced voice representing them in that very hall of Congress so that they can at least have their voices heard, even if they can't change the policy. But being there is the first step to having the policy changed. The problem for me is that it will require an awful lot of money in order to, I don't need to match the others because I have the advantage of being able to amass and organize people power. But even with people power, you still have to have enough to cover the basics of a viable campaign.
And we're talking about a lot of money.
Well, we're talking a minimum of $500,000. And with $1 million, I know that, we would be able to do great things.
Okay. Well, we wish you all the best, and thank you so much for being with us, Ms. Cynthia McKinney.
Thank you.